Welcome back to the Bad Beat Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Eisenstadt. Today we have an amazing story and an awesome flashback for me. Today we have Sheri Peterson in the studio, which was actually my dean in high school, who has suspended me and expelled me numerous times. But that's okay.
I still love you.
Yeah. No. You know what? I appreciate everything that happened to me. I needed those life checks, I would say. I always say everything happens for a reason. And, I needed those kicks in the butt.
Well, a lot of people do dumb stuff in high school. Everybody does dumb stuff in high school.
Yeah.
It doesn't define you. It doesn't have to define you.
I agree. So today, we had talked a little bit over some social media, and you kind of reached out to me. You have an amazing story that you want to tell and hopefully inspire and help some people. And before we dive into the story, what has brought you to want to tell your story?
Well, actually, it was one of your podcasts with the guy with the eye patch.
Iman.
He was talking. I'm a firm believer that every experience that we ever have, good or bad, is for the benefit of others. So you can use a good experience and tell them, this is really great, try it, or, this is hopeful. Or if a really bad experience happens to you, how do you get through it? We're all in this together. So to me, it seemed like, he was willing to share his story. And I thought, you know what? I know that my story has helped someone before. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to be brave enough to get out there and put it out there.
That's amazing. Well, I really appreciate you, being vulnerable and being open and willing to come on here. And, I think it's amazing. So let's jump into your story. I'm going to let you kind of take the roles on this and jump into what you came on here to talk about and hopefully help and inspire some other people.
Great. Okay. Well, when I was a little girl, 7 years old, there was a fellow in the neighborhood. And when he could catch me out alone, he would grab me, take me someplace, sexually assault me, and rape me. And that happened several times. Got to the point where, and he, of course, threatened me, you can't tell anybody this is happening. Always took me home afterwards, but couldn't tell anybody. He threatened that if I told someone, the same thing could happen to my little sister. He would have someone else do this to my little sister and stuff, and I loved my little sister to death, so I wasn't about to tell anyone. And plus, I was a little girl, so I didn't know the words to explain what was happening to me. When you're 7 years old, you don't know those words. You don't know what's happening to you. But it was scary, and I was terrified, and started living under my bed and in my closet. It went on for a couple months, and then he moved away. And for about a year, I was still a big chicken all the time, But it calmed down. I calmed down until I was in 7th grade. And then I got my period. And so I got, the whole facts of life talk. And all of a sudden I had the words and the realization of what he was actually doing to me.
You realized what it was actually happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I knew it at the time, but I was so scared, and I didn't have the words to say anything. I remember crying to my mom, and she didn't quite understand, and she was just like, you're okay, everything's okay. So I just shut up about it, when I was young. But then when I was in 7th grade, oh my gosh, it really all hit me, what was going on. And every time I got my period, I would relive this horrible experience.
Why do you think that?
Because all of a sudden you're faced with,
something uncomfortable.
Yeah, or your vagina doing something.
Right.
So you were just like, totally scared. So it freaked me out. And I would start reliving this, and I got horribly depressed and embarrassed. And it made me feel dirty, and made me feel really humiliated and gross and like I wasn't worthy, and that there must be something wrong with me. It was just really tore down my self-esteem and really made me suicidal. I acted out for months, for about 7 months. I acted out really horribly to my parents, to my older brother and sister. I was trying to fight. And looking back on it now, I think it was because I was still kind of angry that nobody protected me, but not that they even knew what was going on. So how
Yeah.
could they, you know? So
Yeah.
it wasn't like that. But I felt so dirty. I felt dirty. And I felt like I wasn't worthy of living anymore. And everything was just gross, and it was just never going to get better. And then, of course, you know, you add in the fact that your hormones are going crazy when you're in puberty and going through puberty and stuff. So I had a friend who actually tried to commit suicide, and he had cut his wrist across. So he didn't die because he didn't cut deep enough. So I remember sitting there going, okay, here's a piece of glass. How deep do I have to cut to make sure that I cut an artery and nobody can save me? And I used to lay in bed, and I had a window behind my bed, and I would go, oh, Sheri, it's going to be so easy. You're just going to push your hands through the window and drag it across a glass, and then you can just lay there and die. It will be no problem. So I went through that for several months, you know, kind of thinking, okay, when are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? Who's going to find you? I never actually went through with it for a couple of reasons. One is that I was raised Catholic, born and raised Catholic, and I mean, you were told to be a virgin from day one. You know, you were better be a virgin on the day you're married, you know, kind of thing. And my dad would say that, and I'd be like, Dad, I haven't been a virgin since I was 7 years old. But I didn't tell him that because I knew it would kill him. You know, it would just destroy my dad.
So did you try and tell people at any point, like, hey, this happened to me when you were a kid at all? Mm-mm. You were just too scared?
Not at that point. I felt too yucky. I felt too dirty. I felt like it was like, you know, there was something wrong with me. So that went on for a couple months, and I just kept thinking, okay, tonight's the night. You're just going to put your hands through the window. You're just going to put your hands through the window, and they're going to find you in the bed. But according to the Catholic Church, too, you know, suicide's a sin, so, you know, I wasn't going to do that. They didn't talk about mental illness or, you know, that, you know, needing mental help. And obviously I did, you know. My parents did try. They knew I was acting out, so they did have me talk to a counselor. But the guy was our next door neighbor. And I wasn't about to tell him, you know, the neighbor down the street did this to me, you know, or they would tell my parents. And I really didn't want to hurt my parents. And I really felt like that would hurt my parents. And in fact, there was a girl at Green Valley High School that went through this similar situation. And I not only counseled her about it, but I had to counsel her parents because they had so much guilt. Like,
so she came to you?
She had to because she was gone for her suicide attempt.
Oh,
so
man.
She had to come back to me. And she said she didn't want to talk to a counselor because she didn't want to talk to a man. She was not ready to talk to a man. She goes, they can't imagine what I've been through.
So I'm assuming that you went to her and was like, hey, you found some common ground, right? I'm assuming you told her that you had been through it.
I told her my story.
And you were able to kind of just guide her in the right direction?
Well, I said, there's hope. I mean, look at me. I'm married. I have kids. You know, I have a good life. There's hope. You don't have to have this define you. You know, there's still a good future ahead for you. And so she and I really connected on that, and she felt really good about that. And she came back to school. She was ready to, you know, be okay. But her parents lived with this horrible guilt. They're like, how did we not know? How could our precious little daughter have gone through this and we didn't know, and, you know, stuff. And so when I finally told them, look, I'm okay. You know, I have a husband, I have kids, I've got a job, I'm happy, I'm healthy, it's all good. You know, your child can achieve this. It's okay. I mean, they just sobbed,
Jesus.
holding on me, just crying their eyes out because they felt so bad. So, you know, no, I didn't have the courage to really do this or go out and tell people. But there were occasions when I said, hey, you know what? You can get through this. You can get through this. And the only reason why I have to tell you that I got through that is that, have you ever seen the movie Avatar?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know in that movie they don't say I love you, they say I see you.
I did not notice that.
They do. They say that I see you. And to me that's really, really important because when you're in a situation where you want to kill yourself, a lot of times you're like, I want someone to see me, I want someone to help me, but you're also feeling so pulled in that you kind of want to be invisible. You don't want the world to see you. So you're in this like catch-22 situation. And I think that for somebody to say, I see you is really important because they're saying, you know, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge your spirit. I applaud your spirit. You know, I connect with your spirit. That's so important to me. I ran into a homeless guy across, it was about 3 weeks ago, and he was sitting in front of Vaughn's, and he had this little sign, and it said, "My family's kicked me out. You know, I have no hope left." And I was going into the grocery store, and people are just passing him. You know,
Yeah.
he's a homeless guy. He's kind of dirty, and he was all kind of curled up. And I walked over to him, and I said, "I see you." And he got this incredible smile on his face. Like, it was the first time that somebody was like, "Hey, you know, I don't know how much I can do for you, but I see you. I see the situation. You know, I acknowledge you."
Yeah. Isn't that's so powerful.
It is. It is. You know, I don't know if you remember when we were at Green Valley, but I used to always compliment people as they were walking by. "Hey, nice shoes. Oh, new shirt. You know, oh, I like your haircut." Or, "Oh, your makeup is so perfect." Just because I want people to know I see you. You are not this lost, nameless, unrecognized human being, you know. So
You know, I never thought about that.
it's really powerful. I know that in that movie is how powerful it is to just say, "I see you."
I never once thought about that, of somebody who's going through something. Because, I mean, I've been there,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And, like, you're so right. You don't want anybody to see you because you're almost disgusted at the person that you are. You want to hide behind a curtain and not let anybody see the actual you. But at the same time, you're, like, praying to God that somebody finds you.
Right.
That's so crazy.
You know.
I feel like I just had an epiphany.
I'm telling you, it was for me. It was for me to say, to see that movie and go, I can use this. I can say to people, "I see you."
Yeah, and the homeless guy. I mean,
You
think
know,
about being in his, like, think about being in that in a man like that's shoes, where you're sitting on a corner and people do not even look at you
Nope.
all day long. He's still a person. Whatever decisions he made to lead him there. But I mean, it's like people are treating him like he doesn't even exist in this world.
Exactly.
It's got to be so hard.
And it's so painful. And that just adds to the pain that he's obviously feeling. So like I said, it was the most beautiful smile in the world. I will never stop saying, "I see you" to people.
Yeah.
But I have to say that, you know, I don't know who that I know will listen to this podcast, but there was a man who rescued me, like I said, I was feeling really dirty and yucky and unworthy and was acting out. And at that time, that summer, after my 7th grade year, between 7th and 8th grade, my mom kind of adopted my brother-in-law. He was in a situation where he needed a place to live, and she told him to come live with us. And he had 2 really good friends. One of them was named Fred, and one of the guys' name was Moki McGowan. And he's a reporter up in Reno, and I guess he's kind of a famous dude, but he saved my life. And all he did, I'm sure he doesn't even know it to this day. And if I could ever see him, I would say, "Dude, you don't even realize, you don't even know, you saved my life."
I love that.
But he started treating me like I was a real person. And he would go, "Hey, you know, they're hanging out. Let's go have an ice cream. Let's go have an ice cream sundae. Let's go, you know, drive over to here," or whatever. And treated me like a worthy woman.
Yeah. You are.
Well, I didn't feel like it, though, at that time. And of course, you know, your brothers and sisters are thinking you're a pest, and your mom and dad are thinking you're a pain in the ass.
And nobody has any idea what's going on.
No one knows. They just knew I was just a brat.
How do you think? So, you were 7 years old when this happened, and how long did it last?
Couple months.
Couple months, and you didn't really tell anybody until you were.
I didn't tell anybody ever. My family doesn't even know still.
Are you serious? Oh my goodness! Wow.
Well, you know, the thing is, though, by the time I was
So this is your first time, like,
telling
publicly.
public. Oh yeah,
Wow.
oh yeah. I've shared it with very few people.
Well,
you know.
I applaud you very much for,
Thank you.
you know,
But the thing was, I healed from it.
how.
Okay, so that's a good story.
So, I'm sorry. I really want to know, like, so you're 7 years old. You start going through puberty, and you start being around friends. You get into high school, and that's when relationships kind of start. You know what I mean? You start figuring out like the whole dating world. How did you push yourself, like mentally, to be able to be like, right, this is okay. Like, I can push forward.
Well, it was a weird thing, Robert, I got to tell you, because one thing was that I was very aware sexually of what happens in
Right.
sex. I mean, I knew when I was 7. I didn't,
Right.
So growing up, these kids were just experimenting and finding out, and it was like, woo, woo, this is a big deal. I just,
Yeah.
I was already past that. So, so I didn't really relate a lot to the kids who were just going through that because I'd already been through it. And then I dated a lot in high school, but not for very long, because I knew you date somebody for a long time, it's going to lead to more and more intimacy. Right. And I didn't want any part of that. I was like, oh, I've been there. It's scary. I had one of my coping mechanisms, I think it's called compartmentalization or something, is like I would pretend that I was in this little box and that nobody could get to me and nobody could see me, nobody could get to me. I could lock the box and I could come out of the box when I wanted to, but I would just go in the box and nobody could hurt me. So that was a coping
mechanism, yeah.
that I used when I was little. Once I started hanging out with Moki and realized, hey, I am a worthy person, that doesn't have to define me. Because I knew if I didn't get over this, and I knew my parents weren't going to help me, I knew they weren't going to send me to counseling because they'd already sent me to the neighbor, and that wasn't working. So unless I told someone, and I wouldn't do that to my parents, it would kill my parents. So right. I didn't say anything to them. So I said, Sheri, you got to do this by yourself, or you're going to be dead. Because I was taking risks. I was getting into strangers' cars and making out with people. And it was, crazy stuff,
right.
Dangerous stuff. And I knew I would die if I didn't do this. So the first thing and the most important thing was Moki to see me. For Moki to see me as a person that's not a little brat, a little acting out, jerk.
So how old was he and how old were you when you met him?
Oh, that was the end of my 7th grade year. So in between 7th grade, I was 12 years old. And I'm going to say he was probably 18 or 19.
Okay. So he was somewhat of like a mentor, like older brother to you, or right?
Mm-hmm. And just treated me normal, just treated me like I wasn't a brat and wanted to do things with me, wanted to hang out with me and stuff. So,
right.
So I hung out with him. And like I said, I knew that I had to do something or I was going to die. There's an old saying, you carry garbage around long enough, you start to stink.
You start to what?
You start to stink.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm like, I'm not carrying this garbage around with me anymore. I'm starting to stink. I can't relate to people.
Well, I think the more relatable thing that I've heard the most would probably be if you start to tell yourself the story enough, even if it's not true, you'll start to believe it. So in a sense like you, right. Where you were sitting there thinking to yourself, like, I'm not worthy, I'm not this person, maybe you started to believe that, when all along you were worthy.
Right.
You were perfect.
But I needed someone to validate that.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of stuff. One of the things that I learned is that rape is something that happens to your body. It isn't something that happens to you. Who you are, you want to call it your spirit, your soul, your personality, what makes you you, nobody can touch that unless you let them.
Yeah.
You're not the sum of your body. And thank God, nowadays there's a lot of body image, pro body image. You're not you're not your body. You're more than a fat person. You're more than a thin person. You're more than who your body is.
Yeah.
So I had to learn that, and I thought that was really important. And the other thing that I had to learn was you are not responsible for other people's evil. Because I took all that on me. What did I do wrong? Why was I stupid? Why was I, naive? Why wasn't I more careful? Whatever. You're not responsible for somebody's evil against you.
How do you, it's funny. We were just having almost a conversation about that 20 minutes ago.
Oh, is
You know,
that right?
you're not responsible for other people's actions. People do things to themselves, and oftentimes we take the blame for it.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You know, obviously my situation recently was a lot different, but it's crazy to think about that. You know, somebody else will do something, and we feel like it's all our fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're the person that brought this into our lives when it's not.
Right.
It's what do you do to move past that? I mean,
Well, I think it has a lot to do with, at least for me, you know, going to the doctor and stuff like that, or having a baby and stuff like that. That's all your physical stuff.
yeah.
You know, you go have a physical. It's not you that the doctor's interacting with and stuff like that. So
just the realization of like, hey,
there's a
this is my body.
separation. This is me. This is who I am. I'm responsible for me. I'm not responsible for what other people do.
So a massive level of accountability.
Right. And the other thing too is that there's a lot of victimhood in the world. And,
Oh, yeah.
And having someone do something evil to you, to me, I had to learn, doesn't make you a victim. If you came out of it alive, if you came out of it stronger, then you came out a victor, not a victim. So I have totally healed from what had happened to me because I have no animosity, I have no lingering difficulties because I'm a victor. That evil did not conquer me. It didn't ruin me. It didn't kill me, you know. I came out better and stronger. You know, there's a Japanese art form. It's called kintsugi. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's like where they make pottery and then they break it on purpose and they glue it back together with silver or gold or platinum. So it has all these beautiful lines in it. And so, yeah, it was broken, but it's better now and it's more valuable now and it's more beautiful now because of its brokenness. And so to me, I have a piece of kintsugi at my house and it reminds me of that. All this brokenness that's in the world, you know what? You can heal. I listened to a really great speaker say, we think about scars all wrong. We think about scars as, oh man, I broke this, or I got hurt there, or this was a bad wreck, or whatever, you know, you talk about scars. But really, scars are a sign of healing. Scars are a sign of strength and becoming stronger, becoming more powerful because you were broken and got fixed. So he's like, you should be proud of all your scars, whether they're emotional or physical, because you came through it. You healed. It's not a sign of pain or victimhood. It's a sign of healing and growth and better, stronger. And I thought that was really powerful.
I want to jump across this table and just hug you right now.
I'm all about the hugs. I'm all about hugs.
I'm about to be in tears.
Dude,
Thousands of notes. I'm over here taking notes.
like you've already had me hold back tears twice.
No way.
Dude, your mindset is just amazing. I mean,
Thank you. I'm hoping someone else can listen to this and go, yeah, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be better. I'm going to be more beautiful. I'm going to use this experience to help somebody, to make their life better.
It's truly beautiful and so amazing to see somebody that has gone through a traumatic experience in their life like the one that you've been through and have such a positive outlook and mindset on life and the human body and our ability to heal, you know, like the scars and the emotional traumas and you know, understanding that we're not responsible for people's actions. We're responsible for ourselves. I mean, just it is so amazing to see. I mean, you have a very powerful message, and I think you're going to be able to help a lot of people.
I hope so. That's my whole thing is I want to share this today because I want people to know it's not the end. I mean, your story can have some bad pages, but that doesn't mean that the next chapter can't be better.
Yes. Yes. I love it. What would you tell somebody, because like I said earlier before we started, we are best suited to help an older version of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advice would you give to somebody that might be dealing with a situation similar, not similar to yours, that, they might be afraid to tell somebody because they're afraid that somebody will look at them as disgusted or not worthy? What would you tell yourself back then with the knowledge and mindset that you have now?
Probably one thing that I would say is that you're stronger than you think, and that there is something out there, whether you want to call it angels or, people who care. There's something out there that's for you. Whether some people call it God, some people call it,
Higher power.
right. That's for you, and you can lean into that. I mean, my faith is really important to me. It sure helped stop me from killing myself when I sat there with the class all that time. I knew, you can't do that. But know that there's people out there that care, and that even though they don't know you, like I didn't know that guy at the grocery store, but that see you and that are for you. I think it's nice to know that. And then I think I'd also say you're stronger than you think you are. And you see that saying a lot, I don't know, women tell their daughters that a lot. Oh, you're stronger than you think you are, because girls tend to be put down more or whatever, but or it's not appropriate for them to stand up for themselves. If they do, they're a bitch, or they're on the rag, or stupid, bunch of stupid. Guys tell you stupid stuff like that when you're trying to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
So I think those are two things that there's more out there for you. There's better out for you. There's an old Irish saying that says, "There's nothing so bad as it can't always be worse."
There's nothing so bad that it.
Right?
Did somebody say that yesterday? Or did you say that to me earlier?
I don't know that I did or not, but it's so true, right? It's so true. Things could always be worse.
No. I'm either having some really crazy
Flashbacks.
deja vu right now.
Yeah.
I just got the chills throughout my whole body.
Oh, somebody's probably said that to you. Could always be worse.
Say it one more time.
There's nothing so bad that can't always be worse. So I look at these girls, man, who have been kidnapped and raped, but then they've been tortured to death, or that they were never able to have children, or they were never able to heal enough to be in a relationship or something like that. It could always be worse.
Back then, did you feel that having a family and children were out of reach?
I thought life was out of reach. Dude, I didn't think I was going to live.
And what when you started to get into, building a family and getting into, starting serious relationships, was there any part of that ever held you back?
No.
Well, so there was a defined.
Wait, I have to say, physically, yes.
Yeah.
Physically, I had undiscovered at the time physical complications from it that I had to deal with.
Gotcha.
So when I got married and had children, I had to deal with that. But emotionally and stuff, I was already done.
Gotcha. So there was a defining moment where you were like, okay, I'm moving on from this. I am going to be strong, and I'm going to be powerful, and I'm going to push forward. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other.
I can distinctly remember myself, my 7th grade self, saying, "You need to take charge of this, or you're going to die."
Wow. At such a young age. That's so powerful. Wow. I mean, 7th grade, having that mental capacity and capability to be like, I need to move forward from this. And I'm assuming on your own.
Right. And that was the thing I told myself is, you're not going to get help now. Your parents are out of the question. Counseling's out of the question. You're just going to have to do this on your own.
Wow. I applaud you.
Thank you.
Very much.
I don't know. I was through the grace of God. It's all through the grace of God. And the angel of Moki McGowan. I mean, like I said, he has no idea how he saved my life just by treating me like a normal woman.
Do you still stay in contact with him at all?
No, that's why I wish I could tell him at this point, because I couldn't tell him then.
Have you ever tried to find him?
I know where he's up in Reno. He's a reporter up in Reno, but I've never done the research to find out his address and stuff like that.
Do you want me to?
I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool.
I would love to help you.
I think that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll absolutely help you find him.
That'd be awesome.
Was that his real name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think his real name is Richard, but nobody his byline. I've seen his byline at the Reno newspaper.
Well, maybe he'll see this.
I hope so, because and we had to stop because he was in a relationship, and here I am, becoming this high school girl, and still talked to him, called him, depended on just the relationship with him. And he's like, yeah, this isn't working out now that you're older, and I've got a woman in my life that wants, and he ended up marrying Cam and stuff like that. So
well, that's good, right?
yeah. So hey, but I was okay by then. I was in my own relationships. I was doing fine. It was all good.
So it's really important to have some kind of mentor in your life, no matter what you're going through, or somebody
you can depend on. And it doesn't always have to be your friend. Because like I said, I couldn't talk to my friends. I couldn't talk to the guy next door who was a trained counselor. I couldn't talk to that person. But having someone that I could turn to when I felt that really yucky thing.
Did he know?
It has to be a stranger. No. Never knew. Like I said, I didn't tell too many people.
I know. So, and here's what I believe, right? I believe that people can only handle us in certain situations with the information that they're given, right?
Right.
And the analogy, the analogy that I give for that, I really need to find a better one. But if I come home and, let's say I come home and I've worked 16 hours, I come home and I have to do dishes when my wife was home all day, and I'm like, hey, you could have done the dishes, and I'm upset that the dishes aren't done or something, right? But I'm actually upset about something that happened for my 16-hour workday, and I'm pissed off and stressed out from work.
Yeah.
She only knows that I'm pissed off and stressed out about the dishes, not the other 16 hours of shit that I just dealt with.
Right.
Right? So that's where that huge line of communication has opened for me in my life, of being overly communicative and sharing what actual struggles I'm having with my life. Because once I do that, and once I did that, people know a lot better how to handle me. You get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And even my friendships now, that was a hard thing too. Like my guy friends, my best friend, I talk to him the same way I talk to my wife. Hey man, this is how I'm feeling about this.
Good.
Good. Like what you did the other day made me feel like this. Because if he doesn't know, I'm going to be pissed off about something else, and then we're going to get in a fight, and, we might slap each other in the face a little bit. You never know. You know what I mean?
Right, I do.
So, I strongly believe that having that open line of communication does need to be there, but I totally understand the other side of it, right? Being scared. Do you think there's a way to find that balance of trying to find that person that you can confide in?
I think it's hard because remember how we talked about you want to be invisible, but you want to be seen.
Yeah.
So that's I think the really hard thing. So it really means stepping out of your comfort zone. And so if there's somebody listening to this and it's like, I don't know, talk to somebody, anybody, even if it's some stranger that has no vested interest in you,
Yeah. I mean, I always thought it was easier to talk to somebody I didn't know. I felt like if, like a counselor, for instance, right? I believe in therapy, by the way.
Hey, me too.
I've seen a therapist before. Me and my wife have seen therapists before, and not even when we're struggling.
Right. Hey, everybody can learn.
You don't need to be in a bad situation to see a therapist. Just a public service announcement.
Absolutely.
I believe in it. Some people don't, but that's okay. But I always thought it was a easier situation to talk to somebody that I didn't know, because I almost had that same coping mechanism. If I didn't like the way I felt after this, I could leave and they'll never contact me again. But at least I could take what they thought about the situation from an outside perspective and give me a different point of view. Because when you're in that situation, it's very hard to look from the outside in, right? Did you ever, well, you never talked to anybody about it.
No.
But you said somebody knew, right? Besides us.
Okay, so like I belong to a Bible study group, and my Bible study group knows.
Right.
There's certainly the girl at Green Valley High School that I talked to about it. She knows. My best friend knows. But I don't really tell them, I don't get into the nitty-gritty details and stuff like that. But, the statutory limitations on rape, I think, is like 18 years or something. So that's all gone. That's all over. It's all done. There's nothing that can be changed about that. Why dredge it in? Why bring it up? That's not the important stuff. The important stuff is to tell people, you are strong. You have this. Healing is good. It's okay to be broken. It's okay to be hurt. It's not your fault. You can come through it. There's sadness, but that's not the end of your story, or it doesn't have to be. It breaks my heart when people think it will never get better.
And it will, right?
It will.
It'll always get better.
It will always get better. And it could always be worse. So, you survived. You're a survivor. Tell yourself you're not a victim. You're a victor. You've come through this. You're on the other side now.
That's so crazy. I've been asking this question to people a lot lately, and I've heard other people say it too. Every day is a blessing and a gift, right? Me personally, when I was going through my hardships and thoughts of suicide and all that stuff, I would tell myself, like, just go to sleep. Tomorrow's a new day. You'll wake up with a different mindset the next day, right?
Right.
Like if you ever go to bed angry, you wake up, you're not as angry. If you ever wake up depressed, you might wake up a little bit depressed, but you're not going to be at the same level that you were when you went to bed, right?
Right.
So tomorrow's always a new day. And, I ask people, and I'll ask you, if I offered you $10 million right now, how would you feel? Would you take it?
Offer me $10 million?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Okay. You would take it, right? You'd be pumped, huh?
I would.
So what if
I know just what I do.
Yeah. You know what you do?
Oh, yeah.
All right. What if I offered you $10 million and I told you couldn't wake up tomorrow? Would you still take it?
No.
So you're telling me that tomorrow's worth more than $10 million?
Absolutely.
So you should wake up every day like you just made $10 million.
That's right. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Every day is a blessing, a huge blessing. People don't realize that. You wake up and none of us, we hit the fucking jackpot just by being alive.
Right. God woke you up. So obviously, and the other thing too is that means that there's a purpose for you. You're here for a reason. Like you said, everything's for a reason. You're here for a reason. So you don't go, it's just another day. Dude, God gave you another day. What are you going to do with it? You're here for a reason. Look around. Is it the homeless person on the corner? Is it somebody who needs to hear a podcast? Is it your wife who just needs you to put your arms around her? You're here for a reason.
Yeah. You got to be intentional with your time.
Yeah, that's true.
Excuse me. Shouldn't be drinking beer while we're doing this.
On that note.
Yeah. You got to be intentional with your time, and if you can take every day and try and make some kind of positive impact like you're trying to do, right? This podcast is about turning a loss into a win, right?
Right.
And I think you have a very powerful message, and I think that, you were meant to be here today. And whoever's going to watch this is meant to watch this. And hopefully maybe they can reach out to you somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
And you could help somebody that's going through a similar situation. I believe everything happens for a reason. And unfortunately, bad things happen to good people. But those good people are put in that position to be able to help other people push forward.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
everything that happens to you, whether it's good or bad, if something's good happened to you, like I think I saw you the other day talking into your business associates, and everybody was getting together and they were talking about what benefits their businesses and stuff like that. Did you have sort of a get together?
The little meetup that I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's all the good things that are happening to you. So it doesn't even have to be something bad. We're here to help everybody. Every experience that we have is here to share.
Yeah. Was there any other key points that you have maybe learned throughout? I know you had some notes written down. I don't know if you hit them or not, but I just wanted to know if there was any other key points that you were like, this was a huge lesson that I learned. This is a huge nugget that I need to share with somebody. Or did you hit them all?
I think I did.
Okay. Well, I really respect the fact that you came onto the show today. I think you have a very powerful message, as I said before. I think you're very brave for, being open and vulnerable and willing to talk about this. Would you be interested in possibly doing some outreach into helping some other people, or
Oh,
what
absolutely.
what are you looking to do?
Absolutely. Well, I often thought about, going to work for like a rape crisis uh, phone line or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. I've thought about that, but I'm also very shy. So I don't talk to strangers very easily and stuff, but
Yeah.
I do know that, I feel prompted in my spirit to go out there and say, look, there's hope. There's always hope. There's always a future. Things can always get better and always can change. If this bad stuff can happen to me and I can get through it, so can you. You're stronger than I am. You can do it too.
You feel that purpose just like boiling inside your blood, huh?
I absolutely.
Isn't that crazy? I feel like people don't, like, these ideas pop in our head for a reason. Like, I don't think that's by accident. I don't think, like, the idea of you wanting to help somebody, or the idea of me starting this podcast, or the idea of, you starting to, make content and film videography and create art. It's not by accident.
Right.
There's a purpose. There's a bigger purpose behind everything.
And hopefully people internalize it for a good purpose. They don't turn it for evil.
Yeah.
When I looked at that fella that you were interviewing on your podcast, it really, I don't think I watched that by accident. I don't think I just happened upon that, because it really prompted me to say, hey, I know what that guy feels like. I
Yeah.
know exactly how he feels. And I got through it.
Well, I applaud you, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming on.
No problem. But if people do want to get a hold of me, I'm not a professional, and I want to say that is,
You are a professional.
well,
You're not.
I'm not a professional counselor.
What makes a professional?
Training?
A piece of paper?
Yeah.
You have training.
I lived it.
Listen to me. Exactly what I said. You are best suited to help an older version of yourself.
Right.
Look at me. And you probably might not like this comment, but high school did nothing for me.
Oh, hey, listen. People have to just get through it. Seriously. High school is like a mess.
It taught me some communication skills. It taught me what I shouldn't do, but didn't teach me how to effectively communicate with people. Those are all real life situations. Didn't tell me how to become a father. That was a real life situation. It didn't help me figure out how to overcome depression or anxiety or suicide or any of that stuff. All real life situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, a piece of paper does nothing. What you've been through and who you are and where you're going, that's what matters.
Right.
But that's just my opinion.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate you jumping on. I'm looking forward to catching up with you a little bit more soon.
All right.
If you guys have any questions, you guys can definitely reach out to us, and we can relay some messages if that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll go from there. So make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast and then sharing the content. We do this just to spread some positivity and share the message with other people, and we're just trying to help everybody, right?
I love it.
So I hope everybody had a good show, and thank you for coming on.
Sure. You're
All right.
welcome. Thank
Awesome.
you.